everyone, welcome to Cerwin Vegas. Today I'm finally going to get working on the exterior of these Cerwin Vega D9 speaker cabinets and just getting these things looking brand new. What I'm going to be using for these D9s is the Home Ease, I believe is a brand. This is available on Amazon. So if you guys go on Amazon and look, they have all sorts of different kind of veneer wrap options, different colors, different patterns, whatever you guys feel like you want to use. I selected this stuff here because I'm not going back to the original oak veneer that was on them. I'm actually going to be switching to the wood grain black on the outside. And then I'm actually going to be using this gray stuff here for the front baffle. Pretty much all the other D series speakers that I own are all the oak vinyl veneer on them. And it just gets a little boring after a while. So for the big guys, these D9s, I really wanted to try something and get a little different, maybe a little more modern look, but still keep them looking original. And this is one of the cabinets I really do like. This is not a vinyl veneer. It's actually a PVC veneer. One thing I noticed shopping around and looking at all the options on Amazon was they do offer two different thicknesses. So what I ended up doing was going with the thicker of the two products, and I'm really glad I did because even this stuff, it is pretty thin. The gray veneer that I will be putting on here, it does have a bit of a texture to it, but because this is just going on the front baffle, we're not actually making any corners with this stuff. Having this being a lot thicker really isn't going to be the end of the world. So yeah, that's the products we're going to be using. And like I said, they're readily available on Amazon. The stuff wasn't a lot of money. I think I was around, after shipping everything all said and done, maybe $70, $80 Canadian and I did purchase two of these rolls for the black because I'm using more of that, and then just one roll for the front. And that is more than enough to do both cabinets with a little extra, plus the bases. So it worked out really well for me. There's not a lot to this process. I did a lot of test fitting on it. I recommend doing that if you're doing it for the first time. Try to find a material that's similar to the cabinets that you're working on, and making sure you've got enough in the roll. You can cut some small pieces off and just try different things and try different processes or different kind of glues or whatever you want to put on there to get it to stick properly. Just to make sure when you put in all that work and that effort into getting the whole speaker done, that it's actually going to turn out really good and it's going to last. So I've actually done one already just because I kind of wanted to work with it and kind of find out the pros and cons before I did this video. It worked really well, actually. There's a few things that was kind of unexpected, especially the thickness of the black stuff. I expected it to be maybe a little thicker, but being as thin as it was still pretty easy to use. Took my time, turned out really good. Both of these veneers are a peel and stick install type of veneer. So you peel the back and then it's sticky underneath and you stick it to the cabinet. Some of the advice that I gotten was to still go ahead and use a spray adhesive as well. And I'm glad I listened, because after playing around with it and installing it on a few small little pieces I had that were still, that was the same material as these cabinets were made out of. Yes, definitely. I would recommend using, this is a 3M Super 77 spray adhesive. Anyways, let's get to basically everything I used for this project. Not a lot of tools involved, really. One thing you want to get straight edge. Doesn't necessarily have to be this big. I think anything around a foot or so kind of worked really well for me. But you just need something that's really, really, really straight when you're doing your mitered corners. And then I also went and bought, it's just kind of like I believe it's a wallpaper kind of scraper remover thing, but it's just a plastic scraper. And I did kind of sand the end down a little bit on it so it wasn't so sharp. And I'm just use this for applying the veneer itself. But I mean, a credit card or anything like that works really well too. You just want to make sure that you're going to use something that's nice and flat and it's a little rigid, so you're going to be able to get all the, you don't have the air pockets or anything underneath the veneer. So, and a knife, Olfa knife, any knife will work. I would recommend, because of just the detail that has to be put into some of these cuts, I would recommend purchasing the black Olfa knife blades. These are a little bit sharper. It's a little easier for more fine cutting, and they stay sharper longer, and it works really well for me. I recommend that. And then any kind of painter's tape, anything that's not going to leave a residue after peeling it off. This comes in handy pretty much for anything I do, so I always have lots of this on hand. And of course the 3M spray adhesive. Also, heat gun. So I'm using a heat gun, a blow dryer. I'm sure you guys will work just fine. With the heat gun, though, if you are going to use it, you have to be pretty careful with it. I use it on the low setting and make sure to keep my distance because of how thin this black veneer was, it'd be pretty easy to put too much heat to it. So since my last video where I did some cabinet repairs and whatnot, this is actually the other speaker. This was the least damaged one out of the two. And I prepped the edge here, it was sanded it down. I used a filler to kind of fill in all the little imperfections in the wood. You can still see a little bit after I hit it with the paint. That part I did not show in that video, but I mean, it's as easy as just taping off and putting some paint down on it. Okay, so I got her set up right now. This is kind of where it sits at the moment. So I did go along here and paint the inside. This was all black originally. The veneer, the black wood grain veneer that goes all on the outside of this cabinet. If you look at the way they're made originally, a black wood grain veneer does come up the side around the front, and it does actually tuck inside. And it actually covers the inside of this little groove in here. I cannot stress enough, especially if you're using that same material that is very thin, like I said, that this black wood grain stuff is very thin. Any little imperfections in these cabinets, it doesn't take much to show up. Like even a hair is going to show a little bit if you look closely. So it is very, very crucial that these are sanded and very, very nice and smooth, flat, and clean. That's the biggest thing. Prep work is everything, right? So even though I've kind of already sanded this cabinet down a little bit, I'm going to get my palm sander out, and I am going to hit this again, make sure everything's sanded nice and flat. So you can see even on the bottom here, I've been moving around on my floor and whatnot without the base on, so I want to get that nice and sanded up nice and flat. And yeah, basically everything. I want to get it nice and smooth, and then I'm going to clean it up real well, and then finally start putting some veneer on these suckers again. Okay, so, heater's gonna be running pretty much on and off all day. It's pretty cold outside. I think it's like minus 20 degrees Celsius out there right now. And I got it turned up a little warmer in here than usual just because I'm gonna be doing this veneer, and I like to kind of have a temperature up a little bit higher, helps everything stick a little better. Anyways, so this is how I usually start when I'm going to start wrapping these. The idea when you're wrapping, you want to only have one joint, your start and stop, and in one spot of the cabinet. And you always want to plan to have it the less visible spot, I suppose you could say. So it's going to be either one of the bottom corners is kind of where I'm going to start. So usually what I do, I got it on its side like this, and I'll start wrapping on this corner. I'll use that as my straight edge, and I'll start coming up, wrap around all down the side, along the top, and then I'm going to flip the whole thing over and then continue on the other side down to this edge where everything can meet up in one spot, so you don't have any, I guess, any joints you don't want to have on the corner. You want a full continuous nice wrap around that corner for a nice finish. Now, keeping in mind the wrap that's gonna go along this bottom, sides, top, it's all gonna be one piece that comes around the face, because I want a nice wrap here, and then I have to keep in mind I want to a little bit of it's got to go into this crease here as well. So I want to give myself lots of extra on this side. So I'm going to leave a little overhang here because that can get cut off later. Just want to make sure I got lots on the front. So I'm going to have enough extra to be able to wrap it all around and make it look really nice on the front baffle. I'm going to get everything set up here, ready to go, and yeah. Before I get too carried away, I want to make sure I get some of my spray adhesive on here and give it a little bit of time to tack up so it's not wet on there, and then I can start the veneer. Okay, so I let that adhesive sit on there a little bit. Not too long, about it's only been a couple minutes. Basically, you just want to dry your hand and just basically, you don't want it to have it come off on your hand. You want it to be tacky so it's a little sticky, but nothing on your hand after you touch it. So this is ready to go. This is kind of the more crucial part of getting it lined up. And then from there, it's just go, go, go. This is a lot easier, guys, if you've got somebody to give you a hand while you're doing this, just holding the roll and whatnot. But it's not impossible to do by yourself. That's what I'm doing right now. So let's see how it goes. So that is kind of the nice thing about this stuff as it being kind of a peel and stick. It's sticky, but not too sticky. And that's why you really want to use that 3M spray, because that is going to help it permanently bond with the wood. So what I'm going to do ever so carefully, I don't want to cut too much, just enough. Don't know how much I'm going to need for my mitered corner just yet. So hopefully this, of course. I just don't want this sticking to this side here, so I just kind of want to get some of that excess off so I don't have to fight with that later on. I'm going to quickly go do the other side. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is grab it in the middle, and just like I was going to wrap it, start getting some of that on there. Roll it out. Doesn't have to be perfect. All I'm doing is I just want it to stick ever so slightly on there. And then I'm going to want to cut along this, these gaps here. I'm going to want to cut on the inside part of it because I want the rest of that to wrap inside the cabinet. So now I kind of have my depth. So let's start this end. You can feel that crease in here. I'm going to get my fingernail in there so I can see exactly where that line is. And I'm just going to start cutting along. I'm going to make sure it's stuck on there real nice. So that part still needs to be folded to the inside, but I don't want to stick down all the way just yet. Now, kind of layer this back down. And I can use my tape again. And again, I want to line it up with the outside corner as best as possible. Like so. And then line the other edge up, other side of the tape up with the inside corner. Now, you want to leave it a bit long. You want to be at least past here, because now what I'm going to do, okay, nice. There. So now you've got the tape over top of this edge, and then this part of the veneer on top of the tape. And this is where the straight edge comes in. Now, I know the one I have is probably a little bit overkill, so I might try something else. This actually, like a big putty knife like this, is probably going to be better than the big straight edge that I showed you in the beginning, just because it's easier to handle. So basically you want to line this up with your tape because now you know that's your perfect mitered edge. There we go. So now you gotta cut, peel this piece back, the corner's stuck on the tape, and come in, peel this guy back up, and then you want to get this off of here. Like so. Now when you put these down, you end up with your nice mitered edge. But I'm not going to stick any of this down until I've got it all done, because then I can come by, spray it all, and yeah, so I'm going to get going on the other corners, get all that finished up, and then it's go time. So now this is a really good time to go along all your edges here, and basically any foreign debris, anything that shouldn't be in there, kind of pick it off if you have to. I know a lot of times I like to use the top side of my blade here, and just, you know, it's not that sticky of stuff, you guys. It should come off fairly easy. You're not overly worried about like little tiny particles, but like some stuff, like I said, little cut off pieces of this veneer, believe it or not, you're going to see it through there because it is fairly thin. So okay, so just like that, nice mitered corners. These very edge of these corners are really tough to get nice and straight, but I'll hit that with the heat gun and should be able to get it nice and flattened out. I got it all nicely folded inside. It turned out pretty good, actually. I'm pretty happy with it. I like the results. A few little specks and whatnot underneath, and it's tough. I don't know if I'm going to use this stuff again, because now that I'm thinking about it, it's really thin and almost everything shows underneath. So where's the worst spot on this top? You know what, it actually, I thought there was a bad spot here somewhere. No, right here. Yeah, not super happy with that. I mean, it still looks really good, and it looks a lot better than it did, but like, because it's so thin, these corners do turn out really nice. Next thing is the gray. Where is it? There it is. You got this stuff on there. So basically, because I got to spray everything down, I'm going to cover the edge here that I've done. I'm going to just masking tape all that off all the way around, and then I can hit it with the spray adhesive, and then I'm just going to cut this stuff down to a fairly close rough size, because it is a lot wider. I'm going to cut it so it's just a little bit larger than it needs to be, and then just like I was kind of doing before with the black stuff, I'm just going to take and just run my knife along the edge, and I'll be able to trim it up Really nice. And then finished product should look, well, better than it was. Okay, now for this. Now this stuff I learned when I was doing it last time. Be very careful not to bend and crease it because it will leave marks. Be very, very, very careful with this stuff. So try to do this. This also seems to stick a lot better. Fold that underneath. Well, there we have it. All in all, I think it turned out pretty darn good. Those corners turned out really nice. A little bit here, I might have to try to get a little bit more glue in. It's really tough sometimes to get everything just perfect, but I mean, I like it. Looks a heck of a lot better than it did before I started. Not as much light on this side, but turned out really nice. The back, nice painted ends here. You barely even know that these were used. Turned out really nice. So, yeah, I like it. But let's go check out the other one I did. This was the first one, and I got this one all loaded up just to take everything out again, because I got lots of other work to do. The reason for the 3M, and I was warned about it before, and I did use the 3M spray on this one, but I may have not used enough. There are a few spots, I believe, right here. And here you can see it was starting to lift a bit, so no big deal. I can re-glue that. And then we got a little bit something going on here too, so I might have to get some more glue in here as well. Once again, it's kind of just something that happened as it sat here over time. Yeah, that's I mean, there you go. That's going to be the finished product, I guess, when they're all done. But still lots more to do on those. I got both of them done, so I got to do the base yet. I'm gonna make another video on that. I'll just kind of do that one separately, because I think that's something that happens quite frequently. Those bases kind of, these things get slid around and the bases break on them. So I'll do a video on building a new base and wrapping those guys up when I get to it, but that is really nice. I really like it.